All right, it's that time again. It's time for the helicopter podcast. Got my hat on today. I don't think I've actually ever rocked the helicopter podcast hat during a recording. I figured maybe it kind of messes with the lighting a little bit, but hey, it's all right. It's kind of a low budget show anyway. We're gonna give it a whirl today. Speaking of fun, new, cool stuff, this is kind of like the old logo. Nothing too exciting about it. It was actually my friend's daughter. She was in high school still. Just paid her $20 to come up with this a few years ago, and we've actually now just completed a bit of a new logo design. So that's going to be coming out soon, and we're going to have some swag, hats, shirts, coffee mugs, maybe some cool water bottles available. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, thank you to our listeners. Thank you to the Vertical Helicast platform for bringing this podcast to you. And of course, thank you to both of our sponsors, Bell Helicopter, and of course, my business, Helicopter. So just super excited and very excited. I think today is my first time interviewing someone from Germany. I don't know if we've had a German, we're coming up on nearly 50 episodes. I don't think I've had a German podcast guest, a lot of German friends in the helicopter world, but Jakob Meyer-Bender, joining all the way from Munich, I think is our first official German on the podcast. So Jakob, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, Halsey. I'm fine. Hello from Germany to all the listeners.
Sprechen ein bisschen Deutsch.
Yeah, das klingt sehr gut. Sounds pretty good.
Ich bin Halsey. No, is that right?
Yeah,
I don't remember what I do.
My name is Halsey.
Yeah, perfect.
Nice.
There's 3 years of German class in high school for you. It's really got me far.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty hard language, but nice people around here.
Yeah, it's German. I enjoyed the reason I ended up we had to take a language in high school, and everyone took Spanish. Some people took French, and not very many people took German, just because I don't think there was like a lot of application long term.
Yeah.
Spanish.
And I think it's a very difficult language. German is really difficult.
Yeah, and Spanish probably makes like the most sense.
Yeah, sure.
Here in the States, but I did German because the teacher was so cool, Frau Ah, and kind of a funny helicopter connection with Frau Ah. So she was one of my favorite high school teachers. Do 3 years of German with her, and I'm at flight school in Hillsboro, Oregon, and probably my third year there. So I'm working as a flight instructor already, and there's another flight instructor there, kind of a more tenured guy than I was at the time, named Brian Bruner. And I've known Brian by 3 years at that point. And my mom calls me and she goes, "Hey, I'm doing a real estate deal with Frau Ah's daughter, and apparently Frau Ah's nephew, Brian Bruner, is a helicopter pilot with you." And I said, "Of course, I know Brian very well." So it all comes back to helicopters, right?
Aviation world is so small. It's like you can't even imagine how tiny it is.
Well, this is actually really funny. So before this is for our guest. Before we were recording, I was just making small talk, and I was mentioning to Jakob that I have a helicopter transaction happening right now out of Mannheim, Germany, just kind of outside. How far away is Mannheim from you?
Oh, that's like the middle of Germany. It's like 2 hours by helicopter from Munich. 1.5 hours.
Okay, so not horrible.
No.
Anyway, we have a helicopter there that we're helping a client buy out of New York. And of course he's like, "Is it Delta Hotel Tango Mike Charlie?" And I'm like, "It is that." And sure enough, it's a EC-135. So what was your connection with that helicopter? Because I thought, was it part of the? Were you in the police with that helicopter, or were you doing something else with it?
No, we had it was just a EC-135 out of our AOC, and we just operated with it. It was one of our earlier EC-135s, and then we sold it. I think we already sold it like 8 years or so. It's like before I got into the company, but I know that Mike Charlie is still at Mannheim at 87, which is a huge operator here in Germany. And so I know that this one especially is for the sale, so I just thought about it. And
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
funny how it is.
we feel pretty lucky about it. It's a cool helicopter. I did not
Absolutely.
go over. My sales manager Ian has a fair amount of 135 flying
Hmm.
experience. I don't have any. I've never flown the 135,
Hmm.
so it made sense for him to go over with our
Yeah, for
pre-buy
sure.
providers, and he did the test
Yeah,
flight. I was a little bummed because I've never been to Germany, so I was like kind of
you
crossing
should come.
fingers and toes.
Yeah,
We do have to package it still. We have to
yeah,
disassemble it, package it,
yeah.
and I'll probably try to wiggle my way into coming over to
Yeah,
do that.
you should.
And maybe it might work out because actually I'm going to be in Europe at the end of the month in November for European Rotors. Are you going?
Oh, nice. Now, unfortunately, I'm not going, but my company is still figuring out if they will attend, and we'll see what's because we have lots of high priority topics right now, and we will see if we can make it. That we have some attendance there.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've never. This is actually
It's
crazy to
huge. It's
say,
great.
but
It's great.
I've never been to Europe. I've never.
Oh,
This will be my
yeah,
first experience, so
yeah,
I'm very excited. Madrid seems lovely, so I'm
yeah.
excited. We got a nice Airbnb. It's going to be my Ian, my sales manager, and myself. And we're not exhibiting or anything. We're just going to go
Mm-hmm.
and enjoy
Have a
the
look at it.
show,
Absolutely.
shake hands, network,
It's
and then
crazy.
enjoy.
It's a huge opportunity for all those helicopter guys because when I was at ADSC Air Rescue, we had a exhibition there, and we like went there with the helicopters, and it's crazy how many people react to that and see if you exhibit or if you attend, then people will recognize you. They will talk to you. It's a huge community come together. It's real. You will love it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So, to our listeners out there, if you're going to be at European Rotors in Spain at the end of November, let me know. Send me a message on Instagram. Love to meet up and connect with some of my listeners while I'm over there. Last year at Heli Expo in the States, it was fun
Hmm.
because some people had stopped by the booth, and it was actually kind of funny because I had taken a break. I did the podcast. I did like 13 episodes a
Hmm.
couple years ago, and then I just got real busy and I kind of just stopped doing it. And this
Yeah.
past Heli Expo was kind of when I was like, hey, I should start doing the podcast again.
Hmm.
And what kind of set me over the edge is when I was at Heli Expo, a lot of people came up to me and was like, hey, where's the podcast? Like, produce more episodes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it kind of was like cool, because sometimes you just sit here and it's like, am I talking to anyone? Like maybe my mom's listening. Um,
Yeah.
but then, come to find out, we look at the statistics and the analytics, and people from all over the world, listen to this
Sure.
show.
Sure.
Um, and it's so cool. I'm helping my mom start a podcast for her business, and she was like,
Nice.
"How do you meet the people?" And how do you talk with them? And I'm like, well, it's like Zoom, like
Yeah.
I used you as an example. I'm
Yeah.
talking to a guy in Germany tomorrow, and so
Yeah.
I think it's really cool because it's I think the outcome or the interesting thing about the podcast for me that I never realized is I'm making a ton of new friends by being able to
Yeah.
connect with fun and interesting people like yourself.
Yeah.
And so I thank you so much. I know that you've it's nighttime there already. You've worked all day, so I appreciate you coming on.
I'm pretty stoked to be here and talk to you about helicopter stuff. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's so cool. So what are I honestly, what we've been trying to do and some of the way that we've been finding guests is through Instagram. We go on Instagram,
Hmm.
we look at cool profiles of people doing cool things in helicopters, and we're like, hey, we want to talk to that person. But
Hmm.
ultimately, I have very little information actually on kind of what you do and what helicopters are for you. So let's just
Yeah,
start there. Give me and my audience a little bit of a run through of what you are and who you are in the helicopter world.
sure. All right. So yeah, I'm Jacob. I'm 25 years old. I'm turning 26 in a week, and I was born and raised here in Munich, Germany. And my kind of like my helicopter or my appreciation for helicopters started when I was very little. So when in 1999, when I was 2 years old, my dad started being a doctor on the rescue helicopter here in Munich, Christoph Eins from the ADC Air Rescue. And Christoph Eins is like the was the first civil rescue helicopter in the world 53 years ago, and it started to become a huge part in Germany. Like air rescue is a real big topic here in Germany. And when I was little, I was going to the station at the weekends. I knew the crew, I knew the helicopter. I was washing the helicopter like a small boy. I was still peeing my pants, but still had was washing down the BK 117.
That's
And
awesome.
um, somehow I got like connected with the helicopter stuff. But I must admit, after puberty in school, I did not even think about helicopters. So I was never the biggest guy in math or physics or stuff like that. And I knew I could talk and I can handle people or I can talk to people quite easily. And so I went to BMW here in Munich and I did an apprenticeship for 2 years and worked 2 more years for as a specialist in new car sales. Um, and yeah, but after COVID, my contract didn't got how you call it, continued. Yeah. So
Renewed, continued.
yeah, basically I got out of BMW and then I started going to university at the evening. So I study marketing and digital media every night after work from 6 to 9 p.m. And I go to university and like have my thesis and stuff like that. So and with this marketing and digital media, how you call it, university topics, I got to the ADAC Air Rescue because they had a marketing job for students, like especially for students. It's called Werkstudent in Germany. I don't know if that's in America same as here. So you
What's it
can
called?
work Werkstudent, like you work at the company, you do 20 hours and you have special like taxes and stuff like that. So you get paid for your work, but it's only like 20 hours a week.
Yeah, so it's kind of maybe similar to like a paid internship or something like that, where you're getting
Yeah, yeah,
work experience in conjunction to going
yeah,
to.
absolutely.
Real quick question, because this is interesting to me as I listen to you talk here. So this is the same company that your dad was a flight
Exactly.
doctor on.
Exactly. And he is
Wow.
he still is like
Oh, he still is.
he's still a doctor there. He's now there for like I think 23 years at Christoph Eins, and that's it. The whole crew, I know the station, they know me since I'm a small kiddo, and they know me, yeah, since day one, you could say. And for me, it was very special to work at ADSC Air Rescue because now I was working at the same company my dad was, and I could provide him with information from the company, and he did some information for me for flight ops. And then I recognized, okay, that this flight operation, all those air rescue, I'm also a bit like into the medical stuff, like because I got 9 doctors in my family, so everybody is a doctor around me. So I know
Smart
kind of like,
family.
yeah, I just know my part through it. I'm not a doctor. Actually, I don't know anything, but I I'm interested in it, and I thought, okay, that air rescue thing, that's pretty cool, pretty amazing. I could say I could I would love to work as something within flight ops, but I recognized, okay, the way to get into flight ops here in Germany in air rescue is really hard because on the fly on the medical crew, you have to have lots of experience, and you have to be a doctor, and you have to be a paramedic, for example, like compared to your paramedics. And then it was either you getting TC Hems or pilot. But in Germany at Air Rescue, as a TC Hems, you also have to have the medical background, so you need two backgrounds. That's pretty hard. So, and then there was the hoist operator also. Yeah, and then I recognized that those marketing and digital media, I mean, I love marketing. I'm also quite good at marketing, I guess, because all the stuff we did at ADSC Air Rescue was good, or people told me that they liked it, and we had good supporters. But then I recognized I had to go into the flight ops. I just need to find some way a way around it. And I even thought about going to Hillsborough because ADSC Air Rescue has a partnership with Hillsborough. They
Oh, cool.
just bring their pilots there. So you go to Hillsborough, do your commercial pilot license, and then you have a visum in the US for 1 year that you get 500 flight hours, and then you come back to Germany for the ADSC and have to fly like 2 years of PICOS or something.
2
And
years of what now?
pilot in command under supervision.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you're flying like with someone else, essentially. Is
Yeah,
that
it's
what
a
that means?
multi-crew. Yeah, like there's a pilot, and you are the pilot in command, but under supervision. So there is a supervisor sitting next to you, but you're on the. I think you're even on the right seat. So yeah,
Interesting. And did I hear
yeah.
you right to say that to be a pilot you have to have medical experience too, or am
No,
I
no, no,
misunderstanding that?
no. The TC Hems has to, of course, has to be.
Okay.
So the TC Hems is supporting the doctor, so he has to have a medical background, and
Okay,
it's
that
like
makes sense.
5 years minimum, and they have to be very precise and all. Just the best of the paramedics just really come on a helicopter. Um, but and in Munich, for example, at Christoph Eins, they also it's one of our three helicopters in the south with a rescue hoist. So you have to be also um, able to provide the doctor within hoist operations. And there is a hoist operator, a pilot, a TC Hems, and a doctor on board. So it's four persons, and the doctor and the TC Hems go down to the patient, basically.
Wow. And what is a TC HIMS? I don't know what
It's a
that is.
technical crew member, helicopter emergency medical service. So
Okay, cool.
basically, it's the guy who on the other side supports the pilot, but also supports the doctor. If he if he's not supporting the doctor, he provides the pilot with navigation, weather, radio, or whatever. So he sits in the cockpit. But if the doctor needs him with the patient in the back, and he switches places, and he's a multi tool. Yeah, those TC Hems, they are crazy. They can do lots of stuff. They know basically everything, and they are really tough guys and tough
That's
women.
really cool.
They have a lot of TC Hems as women now.
There's female, it's both male
Yeah,
and
female.
female.
Yeah, yeah. It's
That's
pretty nice.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely different, and we can kind of dive more into that further in the podcast, but that's a little bit different than, we don't really have a position like that for
Mm-hmm.
for us here in the States when we fly air medical. Before you
Mm-hmm.
get too much into it, I want to hear kind of about the training background and then getting into it. But real fast, we're just going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, Bell Helicopter.
Bell is proud to sponsor Vertical Helicasts and their vision to hold meaningful mission, safety, and best practice conversations in the helicopter industry. The lessons learned from these conversations will undoubtedly shape the future of both new and veteran helicopter operators.
All right. Well, thanks again to our sponsors at Bell Helicopter for making the podcast here possible. So you're doing marketing kind of as like a 20-hour paid internship.
Exactly.
You've gone completely, you started around helicopters from a very young age because your father's involvement. But then you kind of got out of helicopters, which seems kind of funny because like someone like me, I was obsessed with wanting to be a pilot from a
Yeah.
very young age. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think if I was in that position, I would have never left. But it kind of seems like maybe you thought the helicopter was cool, but you maybe didn't think it was like the career path that you're going to go.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of different, because usually
Yeah.
it's like, I think you're probably the first person where it's like you had early exposure to helicopters, but it wasn't like your immediate drawing,
Mm,
that you
mm,
wanted to do. We've had
yeah,
guests
absolutely.
that don't ever even think about helicopters, and then
Mm,
they're working a job one day and they see a helicopter and this light bulb goes off.
yeah,
And we have people like myself that just always wanted to fly. But I feel
yeah,
like you're kind of the first guest where it was like early exposure, take a break, and then get back
yeah,
into it. So you were talking about potentially going to Hillsborough. Obviously, you didn't. Did you train
yeah.
then in Europe?
No, so I left ADSC Air Rescue earlier this year. So because I saw this, so I was at the marketing position there, and I said, okay, I have to get into flight ops, and so I had a partner, HDM. That's the company I work now for. It's a huge helicopter company, also based in Munich, and we partner. So ADSC Air Rescue and HDM, they have a partner project about the stroke intervention. It's just like a stroke intervention project. And so I know HDM from ADSC, and then I changed as my contract did not get recover. What's it called? Um,
Did
so
it
the contract didn't
yeah,
get
it
renewed.
expired. It
Yeah,
didn't get renewed.
expired. Yeah, exactly. So the contract got expired, and then I switched to HDM, and so now I'm a dispatcher. I'm a salesman and dispatcher at HDM. So I'm responsible for the whole onshore crew at our base in Ottobrunn, southern part of Munich. And yeah, I'm really happy about it. I get so many views into flight ops. I'm starting my private pilot license now. I'm going to the commercial pilot license in 2 weeks. And yeah, everything is set to get more and more into the aviation or flying. Exactly.
That's awesome. So yeah, you're still kind of early on in the career then,
Absolutely.
as far as the
Absolutely.
pilot side. So as like a dispatcher, what is your current roles and responsibilities?
So dispatcher, they call it dispatcher. It's not the real dispatching like you know it from like huge aviation companies. So basically, what we do is everything from sales to huge project. We need to check with the camo if the helicopters are available, which helicopter we can provide, which what is possible with all the laws. There's plenty of strict laws here in Germany. So basically, it's testing and checking what is possible, what can we do, and provide the best opportunity for the customer.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So it's kind of like a multifaceted role.
It's yeah,
And
it's
we've talked a lot about it on the podcast before, where it's like, one of the best ways to start your aviation career is doing something before you're
yeah,
necessarily a commercial pilot. For me, I did like
absolutely,
line service and was kind of part of
yeah.
that operation, because you learn so much about aviation by just being around it. It's really
That's exactly the
invaluable.
point. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the main part what I wanted because there's lots of lots of pro and cons for aviation. Like if you talk to people, they will tell you good stories and bad stories. You always see both sides, but to get a real good view about what's really happening and what it takes to get into aviation or like becoming a pilot and even fly and do commercial stuff, that's a whole different. You can't learn it from any books or something. You have to be there and work for it.
And the current company at which you're employed at, HTM,
Hmm.
it's also an air medical, but did you say it was more of a focus on
Mm,
intervention with stroke, or
we
is it just an
we
overall
have
operation?
we have lots of operations. So we do VIP charter, for example. We got two H145s and D3 and D2. We got six AS350s. We got lots of Heslo. We do a lot of cargo. We do we have a huge offshore part in our company that's in the northern part of Germany. So we hoisting mechanics or material onto the wind what's it called, windmill,
Yeah, the wind turbine.
wind turbine. Yeah, exactly. Um, and we also do lots of hoist trainings. For example, we train the German army and the alpine environment, like or the, yeah, so very different kind of topic, and that's the great thing, because we also do air ambulance, so inter-hospital transportations. We do HASLO, we do offshore, we do onshore VIP, we do hoisting, we do training like IR training for the federal for the army. It's a huge spectrum we have at HDM, and it's very versatile.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool to have, a company that and be involved with a company that does so many different
Yeah.
operations. So you said something earlier, and some of our maybe North American based listeners may not be familiar, but
Hmm.
you were mentioning that you were talking with the camo and,
Yeah,
I'm guessing when you're talking with a camo, you're figuring out aircraft availability and maintenance scheduling and things like that. But for our
exactly.
listeners in North America that might not be familiar with what a camo is, would you mind just kind of explaining that?
Yeah, sure. So the CAMO, I think it's a short version for Continuing Airworthiness Maintenance Organization. So basically, what we do, we have our maintenance program. So it's the helicopter. The maintenance is either due to a flight time or a time it hasn't been flown, like 7 days or 10 hours flight, and which the helicopter gets first or reaches first, then the maintenance is due. And for example, we have to check, okay, how many hours will we fly this week? Is it possible to do the maintenance out of our base? Is it possible to do some items of the maintenance plan on another schedule? Or how could we possibly do realistically put those operations out? And basically, what we do is um, we are the only ones in the company who have an overview from flight ops, um, which is possible within the helicopters. Which one can we switch, or where we can provide any um, um, yeah positive aspects for our company, because as you know, some maintenance problems, you wait for uh, some items, and then the helicopter stands for 2 more weeks. How could you possibly get in the right track again? So we just figure it out. We talk to all the mechanics, and also, of course, the camo, um, which is responsible for the airworthiness, and they'll tell us what we can do, and we talk to them how we could do it.
Yeah, it's always nice, for me being in aircraft buying and aircraft selling and doing a fair amount of transactions in Europe. I'm always very happy if we're looking at a helicopter that has a
Yeah,
camo
yeah.
attached to it, because for me, in the United States, a lot of private owners do a
Hmm.
pretty good job at
Hmm.
maintaining the airworthiness of their helicopters, both physical airworthiness and, records
Hmm.
airworthiness. But it's kind of a relaxed standard that we have, here in the United States.
I think
Whereas,
you are
like,
not allowed to do that in Germany. So in
yeah,
Germany, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So it's really
Mm.
nice for us. I don't know if because some European countries may not require a camo,
Mm.
um, and I'm not sure if maybe Germany does. For instance, the helicopter that we're buying now is under a camo,
Yeah,
and
for
it's
sure.
for us. It's just nice because we know that comes with a higher level of maintenance standard,
Yeah, it's
better
crazy.
record keeping. Um, records are such a big part of an
Yeah,
aircraft, and
absolutely.
and for me, the helicopter that we're buying, and I think it's an early 2000 model.
Yeah, yeah,
It was I think it
yeah.
was a P1. Started off its life as a P1,
P1, yeah.
and then transitioned into a P2
P2
plus.
plus. Yeah,
So it's 7,000 hours, lots of records. So
yeah.
it's nice that it's been kind of through its entire life through a camo. And for our listeners out there, it's interesting. I think probably a lot of our listeners, if they're whether just getting into flying helicopters or starting their career, or maybe they're already flying for an operator, I would say that probably the most complicated thing on a helicopter operation was what you were just talking about, trying to figure out the aircraft availability
Yeah.
and working around the maintenance intervals to
Yeah.
make sure that there's not too much AOG, aircraft
Yeah.
on the
On
ground
ground.
time. Because when the aircraft's on the ground, it's not
You don't
making
have
any
money.
money. And so
Exactly.
it's and big op, I'm sure HTM and you are probably very much part of that process, have it pretty well dialed in on
Yeah.
maintenance planning, tracking, because that's a make or break for a big operation.
Mm.
You can have all the business in the world, but if you don't have helicopters that can fly, then
Yeah,
your
exactly.
business isn't great. So I'm sure that's probably actually really fun. I've always liked that aspect. I've helped smaller operators
Yeah,
maintenance plan and coordinate things like that. So, do you enjoy doing that?
absolutely. And so it's so versatile, as I said. It's like the 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 whole dispatch work from a salesman to this maintenance project and all the like. Basically, it's laws and maintenance. What is in Germany really hard, really high standards, and those two big parts, they restrict you or they put you in your place when you try to figure out how you can get the customer from A to B. Then you have so many laws. The helicopter is not allowed to do that because of the configuration or whatever, and you have to figure some way around. And that's really special because you learn a lot of things about it. You learn on the other side, you learn what you can do with the maintenance, which items are very important to do, and which are basically where you can say, okay, we can like provide longer times for it. But on the other side, the loss is the very, very important stuff here in Germany. But I enjoy
Yeah, I mean
it. I enjoy
it's
every
like
single moment.
constant problem solving,
Yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah,
trying to have your plan A, but then also be able
exactly.
to have a plan B, C,
Yeah,
D, and E.
yeah,
Always being ready, being flexible. Hey, we're going to put
yeah,
this helicopter here. We're going to move this helicopter over here. We're going to put this
yeah,
crew here. I think to me
exactly.
that would be really exciting. It would probably make the workday go quickly. So now you are training though, because is ultimately your goal is you want to be a pilot.
Yeah, I will. I mean, I see all those pilots at our place and my colleagues, which are becoming my friends, and we are very like it's a family at HDM, you could say. We are very close. My colleague within the dispatch, he's very nice, and it's very familiar and it's fun to work. Um, but I know that I have to do the step onwards towards flying because otherwise I will get completely frustrated. So if I would be there like the next 2 years and I see everybody go fly and do some great operations within the Alps or whatever, some filming, um, I don't think I could do the job for a long time because I would get depressed and frustrated. So
Yeah, you want to get it.
it's
You want to get into the pilot
yeah,
seat.
yeah.
So where are you at right now in your training? What aircraft are you flying? Uh, Tell us a little bit about how the training's going. What's been difficult? What's been more natural? Just tell me
Yeah.
the whole scoop.
So I'm actually really just at the beginning. I'm a street walker right now. I just did my medical and I have my radio license the next week. And the week afterwards, I start with a private pilot license theory. So it's like 3 weeks of normal school, as you could say. And then I will start flying at our own company. So I will have the privilege to do it on an AS350 on an Accurate, which is pretty expensive, of course. Even here in Germany, it is. I mean, you know how much an hour of an AS350 costs. Um, but yeah, my dad is supporting me since he is also into aviation as a helicopter doctor, and he sees how I'm into it and how I'm hyped about it and interested in all the facts around it. So
Man,
I'm pretty happy to do it. So
so are you going to be doing all of your training then in the A Star, or are you going to be doing any in the Robinson?
no, we don't have the Robinson in our flight school. So I thought about going to another flight school. I've thought about to going to Heli 7, like the Mannheim company where you buy the Mike Charlie from. But I was sure that I will do it on the Robinson because it's not normal to do it on an A350 to be fair.
No, it's not.
But the companies here in Munich, if I would have decided that I'd do my commercial pilot license on a Robinson, I would have had to quit my job because it's too far away. It's a 40-hour week job. It's more of 50 hours a week in the season, even more. And then I can drive like 1.5 hours towards my location to my flight school and go there for an hour and drive back for 1.5 hours. Simply the days don't have enough hours for it.
Yeah, not enough time.
I had to quit I would have had to quit my job, and I didn't want it to do. So yeah, I'm in a really good spot right now, and I mean it's a lot of money, but you have to earn it back somehow. And if you're a commercial pilot and you set your targets, we'll see.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm excited for you. And flight training is so fun. It's something that I did a pretty long time ago. It's been a long time since I was in the ab initio flight training environment. But I look back at that time, and it's a very exciting time, learning how to fly a helicopter, and it's very frustrating at times. I think myself and a lot of my listeners will tell you that there's times where it's just frustrating. It's you should be able to fly this thing, and why is it so hard? Why would they make a machine that's so hard to fly?
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's kind of the beauty of helicopters, is that they come with a lot of complexity, and once you kind of get the initial muscle memory, they get easier to fly. But something I'm always talking about with helicopters and thinking about with helicopters is there's so much that can technically go wrong, right? While you're flying. And so as a trained pilot, it's not about necessarily being like the best stick or the great, the world's best pilot. It's about being like a good decision maker.
Yeah.
And being able to hopefully react in an experience where maybe something bad is happening, an engine failure, you have a control issue, something happens, right? Like that's where you earn your money. And so it's neat in flight school because that's the foundation that you're building. You're building all this new muscle memory to hopefully allow you to make a safe decision when the time comes. I would say that most professional helicopter pilots at some point in their career, maybe even a few times within their career, are going to be tested. Something out of the ordinary is going to happen. Weather is going to change really fast. The helicopter is going to do something weird. And the foundation that you build now at flight school is what you can just continue to build on to become that safe, proficient pilot in the future. So what does it look like for you then? Like how long are you estimating and what's the time and the process look like to go from where you are now just starting to being able to be a pilot at HTM?
So right now I'm still at university, I must admit. So I got my work now at university and my private pilot license. So this next half of a year will be a huge shocker for me, but we'll see how this works out. So I plan on doing the theory in school this within the next 3 weeks, and then I'll just study for the exams and want to be done with the exams by March. That would be like pretty good with all my tests at the university. And then I will start flying within March, April. And it's 45 hours for the private pilot license here. I don't know if it's the same in America.
Yeah, I mean, I think depends on if you're 141 or Part 61, but call it 40 hours.
Yeah.
Typically, it takes a little bit longer.
Yeah,
I bet the
So
average is
minimum,
probably
Yeah.
50 to 55.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to have minimum 45 hours to get to the test. And so I want to become, or I want to finish my CPO within my 30s, within my until I get 30. So that's basically 4 years. It's a long time, but I mean, it's really lots of work at HDM. We do 40, 50 hours a week. So you have to be precise where it's good to fly. I mean, it's an advantage for me because I'm at work and I can go out for a test flight or whatever. But still, it's a lot of time. It's a lot of learnings, as you said. It's like getting to know all those stuff as a street walker, as a becoming a pilot is like completely different. It's not like getting a driver's license. Like you understand a car, that car will drive. You just have to steer it and have to know what's happening in the worst problems, or what does the sign. I mean, aviation law or air law, that's like you you can compare it to any traffic law here in Germany or anywhere else.
Yeah, no, it's there's so much to learn, and we'll talk a little bit more after this quick sponsor break.
As always, a special thanks to Celicopter for producing this podcast. Specializing in helicopter evaluations, faster sales, and superb service, Celicopter is the go-to agency for clients expecting immediate results. Celicopter's team of helicopter professionals are the best in the business. Using their aviation expertise, a nationwide network, and a proprietary 76-step listing strategy, Celicopter will convert your listing from Mayday to payday. Ready to get started? Text helicopter to 1-855-Celicopter. That's helicopter to 1-855-735-5226. And a Celicopter pilot agent will reach out. Celicopter. List it, sell it, done.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree 100% with you that learning to fly a helicopter, there's a lot more that goes into it than, say, learning how to drive a car when you get your driver's license. And a big part of that is the regulations that you were just talking
Yeah.
about. I would say that my experience, the regulations, aerodynamics and regulations are kind of the most difficult for a lot of students. I don't know what it looks like for EASA, but I'm sure it's very similar. For the FAA, we have a FAR aim. It's a big, thick, book,
Mm.
and it's essentially all the ways that you can get in trouble.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pages within that book that don't
Yeah.
necessarily apply to everyday 91 operators or even part 135 operators, but
Yeah.
there's so much in that book that you have to understand. And I think one of the hardest parts is that most people don't get into aviation with any type of background in understanding law and
Yeah.
the way that lawyers write things. And
Mm.
since the FAR aim is written, by lawyers
Lawyers. Yeah.
through the FAA, one of the hardest parts is just teaching my students back in the day how to read the book.
Yeah.
Because for the FAR aim, it will say, refer, everything that I'm saying right now applies except for section, Charlie
Yeah.
2 Alpha India. It's like this crazy format.
Yeah.
And so it takes time to even get through that format. And then once you understand the format, then you can kind of start to digest everything. And for us here in the United States, for students, part 43, part 61, part 91, those are kind of like your bread and butter parts that
Yeah.
you need to really have a good idea on. 43 for us is maintenance. 61 is certification and how you get your certificates. And then 91, that's the crucial one. That's how those are
I
ways to
remember that.
lose your
Yeah.
license.
Yeah.
And so it's it's a lot, but I think you'll enjoy it. And I think it's really cool that you're already part of a helicopter operation because you probably already understand a lot more of this stuff
I hope
than
so.
just the
I hope
average
so.
person, right?
I hope so. I mean, I'm really happy about it that I can start now, and I'm really like I can't wait to start. And I think that's also the special thing about going into aviation. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of stuff you have to learn. It's a lot of stuff you have to get familiar with. But as you go into aviation, you have to have a fascination for it. You want to become a pilot, or you want to become a like whatever. It's always, I think there's a personal interest behind that most of the time. So it's hopefully easier to learn all the laws and what comes with it.
Yeah, I mean, you're still gonna have your challenges, but it definitely
Oh,
have a
definitely.
leg up. So what does it
Yes.
look like at HTM then? What would be most realistically the first flying position that you would be able to have at HTM?
Oh, we'll see. We'll see how things work out. So we're starting just as a normal like picos, pilot in command under supervision. So our we have some young pilots at our company already. Good friend of mine, and he's actually really good. He was really good educated, and he's flying. He's also preparing everything, and he's responsible. But there's always another helicopter pilot of us with him, who's the supervisor or the not the flight instructor, but the supervisor for him. And so he
Yeah,
gets his hours and he gets his experience, and he will become he is already a great pilot, but he will be a big man in the company.
that's awesome. What would be your dream flying position?
I don't know. I think I will, for me personally, I will always be the guy who talks to people. Of course, I'm a little bit of a salesman on the pilot, and I think I will try to do like a, a 50, or my perfect job would be like a 50-50 job, or 60-40, whatever, so that I can basically fly and get my experience, because I know I'm already pretty old. I'm 26 years old. All those young guns coming out of school, they start flying with 18, 19 years old. They will always have more flight hours than me, because I can't how you fetch up, no, how you say, um
You can't catch up with them getting the head
yeah.
start.
Yeah, exactly. So I will always try to be or put my positive aspect of a salesman and of a dispatcher within the pilot range. So I will be happy to fly everything I can do. I mean, I would love to do flying like close to the Alps, somewhere in the mountains. That's my home. That's where I feel safe and sound. But you'll never know. I mean, alpine environment helicopter, that's really, you need to be really experienced. You have to a lot of experience. Um, so we see. I just want to become a pilot. I would do my license, and then I will see what happens here in Munich, what happens here in Germany, with all those laws and companies that are around here. And maybe some people say I will come back to the ADC air rescue someday. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, that's the cool thing about, flying. There's so many different opportunities, and
Yeah,
as you gain more experience, you can do more things. We had a, guest on recently, Lucas Riva,
yeah, I
and
know.
he does the external load
Tesla.
operations.
Yeah,
Yeah, in the Alps, and yeah, incredible stuff. I mean, he's doing
he's a
external load
crazy dude. Yeah,
at
he's
15,000 feet,
yeah.
and just crazy stuff. And then actually, I got sent a book from a guy named Simon. What's Simon's last name? I got to look it up. This is kind of cool. That's what I love about doing the podcast is people reach out. Um Simon Wittinger,
Mm-hmm.
and he's actually written a book on mountain flying,
Yeah,
and works in Switzerland. So I'm really excited to talk with him soon, and hear his thoughts on flying
nice.
in the Alps and doing all those cool operations. And
Yeah,
um, that's helicopters. We talked about this recently with our guest Brad Isaacs. That there's there's so much that helicopters do for our infrastructure.
Exactly.
Helicopters,
For
are used
society.
for utility, and helicopters are
Absolutely.
used for offshore exploration. Helicopters are used for air medical. And because they're used in so many applications to just keep our world running, there's so
Yeah.
many cool operations that you can do. So I wish you luck. I can't wait to stay in touch and hear how your training's
Yeah.
going. We found
Absolutely.
you on Instagram. So for our guests out there that have not seen or familiar with your Instagram, where can they find you?
You just find me at maybe like MEYBE under what's it called?
Underscore.
Underscore media. Maybe media. Like
Yeah, yeah,
maybe with an E because
yeah,
of
perfect.
Meyer-Bender.
And yeah, Maya Benda. We'll put that in the description to the episode as well, so you can check out his page. Lots of fun helicopter content. Like I said, that's one of the ways that we're reaching out and getting to connect with new guests is through social media, going on Instagram specifically, seeing cool people posting cool helicopter content. And so that's how we stumbled across Jakob. So Jakob, again, thank you so much. Again, please stay in touch. I'd love to hear about how your
Yeah,
training's
absolutely.
going. Can't wait to see the content as well. I'm sure you'll be doing some content
Yeah,
during your training, and that's probably going to be
sure.
a nice first person perspective of what it's like.
Yeah,
So yeah, thank you
I'll
so
do
much
my best.
for
Thanks for
coming
having
onto the
me.
helicopter
It really
podcast, man.
was
It's awesome.
absolute fun. Thanks for having
To
me.
our listeners out there, always a big thank you. You guys make this show possible, and I'm just so grateful for that. To our sponsors, thank you to Bell Helicopter and Celicopter. And of course, thank you to MHM Publishing and their creation of Vertical Helicasts. If you haven't listened to the other podcasts that are on the Helicast, the Hanger Z podcast and the Real Rescue, I would highly recommend it. Great shows. The Hanger Z is kind of uh, law enforcement specific, and John does a fabulous job. And then the Real Rescue with Jason Quinn kind of is more on the rescue side. Jason was a Coast Guard rescue swimmer, and so his show is super cool. So Vertical Helicast is a great platform. Please check it out. Jakob, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
And thank you again to our listeners for making it all possible. Talk to you soon.